Beautiful movies that you want to open and watch over and over again when you feel bad, when you want to relax. 1. The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride focuses on the story of the fairy tale heroine named Buttercup. An innocent love is born between Buttercup, who lives on a farm in an imaginary country called Florin, and one of the farm workers. Leaving the place where he lives for his love for Buttercup, Westley jumps on a ship so they can have a good future and get married. But the ship, attacked by pirates during the voyage, separates the two lovers. Thinking Westley is dead, Buttercup is deeply saddened and despondent. Helplessly married to a prince, Buttercup will soon face various moves of fate, his life changing in a way he didn't expect. 2. Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump, low IQ. The owner is a young man. When he meets Jenny, he falls in love with her. Gump meets historical people by accident, among them Elvis Presley, Kennedy, Nixon, and events developed during a period from the 50s to the late 70s. As a purely coincidental coincidence, Gump witnesses and even plays a role in the Vietnam War and the major events of American recent history. However, he does not know how important the consequences of his actions are. Onemli Sonuklari Oldegundan da Haberi Yoktur. 3. Airplane. Robert Hayes is a former fighter and pilot who was forced to take over the management of an aircraft as a result of the flight crew being poisoned by food. Julie Haggerty and Robert Stack, Lloyd Bridges, Peter Graves, Leslie Nielsen, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and many more star in the role of co-pilot. 4. The Shawshank Redemption. The Price of Captivity tells the story of the world set behind bars by two prisoners named Andy and Red. Andy Dufresne is a young and successful banker. He is tried for the murder of his wife and his wife's lover and sentenced to life imprisonment. There are beatings, torture, rape, all kinds of situations in Shawshank Prison, but Andy is still committed to life and optimistic. This attitude also affects those around him. From Andy's hopeful perspective, he convinces all the inmates around him that there can be a free life, even behind bars. Andy will also have a friend to partner with in these efforts, Red. 5. Schindler's List. Schindler's List is the second by a German businessman named Oskar Schindler. It is about the fact that he employed Jewish workers in the factory he built in Poland during World War II, thus saving the lives of 1,100 Jews. 6. Spirited Away. The Escape of Souls is one of the most valuable works of Japanese animation master Hayao Miyazaki. The film opens with little Chihiro and his family moving to a new town. The family, who pay attention to a tunnel they see on the road during the journey, are fascinated by the fantastic world they encounter when they pass through the tunnel. But there is something wrong with this town. This spell will soon be broken. Little Chihiro, who has lost his family, will embark on a fearful adventure to save his father. 7.12 Angry Men. The 12 Angry Men are the subject of the deciding process of 12 jurors charged with deciding on a teenager charged with murder. A young Latin American man has been charged with murder for murdering his father. A knife that the defendant said he had lost was found in the room where the murder was committed. The teenager's defense to the court is weak and there are many witnesses who say they have heard what happened. If found guilty, the defendant will be sentenced to death. The jury results are hardly surprising. Only 8 of the 12 jurors voted for Davis' not guilty verdict. While Davis tries to convince jurors that each juror has a guilty verdict, there will be different personal reasons among them, such as xenophobia, overconfidence in the law, adherence to the majority, and a reckoning with the past. 8. The Green Mile. The Yesel Road tells the story of a prison guard and an inmate. Paul Edgecombe's mission in prison is to send the condemned prisoners on their final journey. He executed hundreds of prisoners over the years he worked. One day she meets a scary-looking man named John Coffey. But beneath this eerie look of Coffey lies a rather pure soul. Coffey is on trial in the murder trial of 2 young girls. Coffey's day-to-day extraterrestrial powers will reveal new clues and bean about his character. 9. American History X. In the shadow of the past, it tells the story of a teenager trying to avenge his murdered father. Derek has become a key member of a fascist gang after his father is killed by a black drug dealer. One day, Derek kills 2 niggers trying to steal his car and goes to jail. In the process, his younger brother Danny chooses to follow in his brother's footsteps. During his time in prison, Derek became a completely different man, remorseful of his mistakes. He is no longer a skinhead, and his sole purpose would be to try to get his brother back this wrong way. 10. Amélie. Amélie is among the most vocal productions of the last decade, nominated for 5 Oscars by the famous French director Jean-Pierre Jeunet. This French comedy invites us to meet a young and special woman, the story of Amélie, who is always full of life, witnessing life with loving eyes and carrying her special glow with her at every moment. Amélie, who has lost her parents, is dedicated to fixing the lives of others and making them happy. She is committed to making it easier for people who are unaware of this situation without realizing it. But will Amélie, who strives for the happiness of others, begin to strive for her own happiness as soon as she realizes her loneliness? 11. City of God. Tanrai Kent tells the story of two friends living in violent backstreets. In the film, we witness the destructive development of Tanrai Kent through the eyes of children who choose different paths. Tanrai Kent is one of the event films of 2002. It is a film that runs through the crime-ridden slums of Rio de Janeiro, subverting the audience. 12. Grave of the Fireflies. Grave of the Fireflies is one of the blackest spots in human history. He narrates the lives of two younger brothers devastated by World War II. Seta and Seska, who sacrifice their mother to war, are sent to a close relative because their father is also at war. Unable to hold on here, these two young children run away from home, throwing themselves into the streets where the scars of war are being fueled. But this journey will turn into a battle for life, given the blood-scented streets, unlike the kind of journeys we know. Adapted from Akiyuki Nisaka's semi-biographical novel, the film is one of the most poignant and most realistic of the films made on war. 13. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. In Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the king and his knights go after the Holy Grail, which belongs to Jesus but is so lost by an order from heaven. To find this Holy Grail, they must face all the dangers that stand in their way. The Monty Python crew's journey in search of the Holy Grail, one of the most sublime examples of the Terry Gilliam mind and one of the funniest crews of all time, is considered one of the funniest films in the history of cinema. 14. Up. Two children who cross paths by chance in the sea above are the protagonists of a sweet and touching story that will last for years. Born adventurous and with childlike pure curiosity about everything in life, Ellie's only dream is to travel the world. Carl, on the other hand, wishes that he could fulfill Ellie's only wish with his big heart and his adventurousness, which he shrouded in silence and calm. Two young children grow up, get married, get old. Death knocks on Ellie's door, and Carl sets out to realize the only thing left of his beloved, this childish dream. 15. Requiem for a Dream. Requiem for a Dream is adapted from the novel by Hubert Selby. A drug-addicted teenager, his television-addicted mother, and a chasm rising from day to day between them. While Harry's only goal in life is more drugs, the only thing that connects his desperate mother to life is his favorite competition program. One day, when you qualify for this competition, all he cares about is getting into the red dress, which is the prize. Older and unhappy women start taking weight loss pills. 16. Life is Beautiful. In Life is Beautiful, Dora, the beautiful teacher of our high priest, the vivacious Guido, is smitten and, despite all the obstacles, they get married. Then war breaks out when all the roughness in the lives of the couple, who also have a child, is eliminated. When they are taken to the concentration camp because they are Jewish, Guido will tell his son about the prison camp and the war as a game. His son will gift him a toy tank, which he so wants as a reward if he completes the game successfully. 17. Saving Private Ryan. In Saving Private Ryan, a mother of 4 is badly wounded after her 3 sons lost in World War II. Now his only wish is for his only surviving son to return safely from the war. Their pleas will be answered, and an order from the president will ensure that James Ryan survives this war at all costs. On the day of the Normandy landing, an 8-man troop is assigned to a different mission, the task of rescuing Ryan. But this unit, led by Captain John Miller, will embark on a true struggle for life in this harsh environment, questioning the legitimacy of the endangerment of 8 lives to save a single man. 18. The Silence of the Lambs. Clarice Starling, a young FBI agent who has graduated from the academy, tries to save a woman from the hands of a perverted killer who has skinned his FBI agent victims. Clarice becomes close with the famous Dr. Hannibal Lecter, another psychopath, to reach Katila. Before he can get information from Lecter, he needs to gain his trust. 19. Back to the Future. In Back to the Future, the mad scientist Dr. Brown develops a car that makes time travel possible. Young Marty, the first to use this machine, is sent back to the past instead of the future with a slight timing error. A move Marty made here, going back 30 years, leads to a mistake that could lead his own destiny to an interesting point. All Marty has to do now is try to correct this mistake in some way that would prevent his own birth. 20. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Ferris Bueller, a high school student, wants to get out of school for a day. Ferris and his friend Cameron, who escaped from school on a beautiful spring day, decide to have a fun day. But their sense of fun is too dangerous. Having bought Cameron's father's award-winning Ferrari, the duo set out for Chicago, taking Ferris' girlfriend Sloane with them. At the age of 17, the team touring the city in a red Ferrari they missed, find themselves in unexpected situations. 21. Dead Poets Society. The Welton Academy of the 1950s was a serious, disciplined and highly regarded school in academic circles, but Backheaded was in power. The conservative and orthodox attitudes of the school administration make the school a boring and depressing place for students. But much will change with the appointment of new English teacher John Keating to the school. Keating contrasts the school's status quo attitude with the way he advises students to tear up textbooks, move away from stereotyped ways of thinking and live their lives to the fullest. Introducing his students to poetry and qualified literary works, Keating makes a profound impact on many of them and shapes their dreams of the future. Of course, it won't take long for Keating's approach to be noticed and overtaken by the school administration. But when he decides to suspend school principal Nolan Keating, the students whose lives he changed, they take action to defend Keating. 22. Pulp Fiction. In the cheap novel, Honey Bunny and Pumpkin are a pair of young and in love little robbers who want to add some action to their lives. From beyond, two slutty gangsters, Vincent Vega and Jules, go on one of their day jobs to shoot a few Sarateka teenagers who are delaying payment to their boss. Vincent is also tasked with babysitting the boss's beautiful young wife, while his partner decides to end his life of crime. A brave boxer flees the city, refusing to cheat for money. Fate will bring these outliers together in a magnificent way, cross their paths. 23. Boys in the Hood. The three friends grow up together on the back streets of Los Angeles. Trey, Ricky and Doughboy. They spend their lives in neighborhoods where drugs and violence reign, trying to survive. Their choices will have a direct impact on their survival. 24. The Breakfast Club. We're dealing with a youth classic from 1985. In the film, a nerd student model, an athletic sportsman, a freak anarchist, an intellectual and a blonde will make their way to the partnership they will discover between them. These five, dissimilar from American high school life, have been subjected to torture like spending the Saturday they were grounded in the school library. They also moan under the harassment of a high school principal in Blinders. 25. The Blues Brothers. As soon as Jake Blues is released from prison, he runs with his brother Elwood to their former teacher, Sister Mary Stigmata, and learns the terrible truth: the full $5,000 is needed to save the orphanage they grew up in together from extinction. Jake and Elwood then decide to give a concert by gathering their old musician friends together. In doing so, they're going to tear Chicago apart, and they're going on a great adventure with a whole fleet of police and Nazis after them. 26. Goodfellas. In Good Friends, a gangster named Henry Hill attempts a robbery with two friends named Jimmy Conway and Tommy DeVito. His two friends, with their eyes higher, kill the others involved in the robbery and begin to rise up in the mob. This has affected Henry negatively and he needs to do something about it. 27. It's a Wonderful Life. In The Wonderful Life, business tycoon George Bailey is on the verge of suicide because of a series of events, and he is swinging at the edge of the bridge. Just then, a guardian angel, named Clarence, appears and decides to play a little game with George to dissuade George from contemplating suicide. In this game, George will return to his old life and George will see what kind of life the people in his life would lead if they had never met George. As a result of this extraordinary experience, George realizes how much he has helped so many people out of his goodwill and realizes the value of his life. 28. Good Will Hunting. In My Dear Friend, Will Hunting is a young boy who works as a cleaner at MIT with a level of intelligence far above his general IQ. One of the evenings he cleans up, he stumbles upon a maths question written on the board of a class. Will, who easily solves this problem, which is almost impossible to solve, quietly disappears. Will, soon discovered by the professor who wrote the problem, will continue his success in other questions. But the young man who is sentenced to prison for a fight needs a professor to get out of this trouble. 29. The Truman Show. The people living on one of the most beautiful islands in the world lead an enviably utopian life. The people who live on this island wake up happy every day and end the day without any problems. Our lead character, Truman, is one of those lucky people. He has a beautiful wife and a happy life. Truman lives life as it is until the moment he sees his father, whom he thinks is dead, on the street one day. He's sure he saw his father, but he just disappeared. In the following days, Truman will realize that something is not right. He will try to figure out if the life he has is real.